So anyway, well, we're seeing what could be potentially the beginnings of such a war.
Yeah. Well, because also what happened recently is it's not just this encroachment on the seas by civilian Chinese fishing boats. Uh, s- Chinese civilian aviation is now also crossing closer to Taiwan. So you mentioned earlier the median line, which is sort of like this unofficial line demarcating the middle point between mainland China and Taiwan.
Now we're talking about the Taiwanese Strait and like the main island of
Yeah,
Taiwan.
the main island. So, I mean, it was always kind of official, but now it's really unofficial because unilaterally the Chinese side decided that they will have their flights like closer to that median line than what both sides had previously agreed upon. And so the Taiwanese side, like the Taiwanese Air Force, is concerned that like a Chinese military plane could like hide under a civilian plane.
Like a commercial jet.
Yeah, like a commercial jet, yeah. It could always be that like that commercial jet itself is actually secretly a military operation because planes travel pretty fast. If you're just like a little bit closer, that can make a huge difference in terms of like Taiwan's ability to react to.
So you're saying that they're air salami slicing?
They are air salami slicing by land, by sea, by mail.
Right. It's also like unnecessary from an aviation perspective to do this. Like I think for clarity, what's happening is that between a few different Chinese cities, the flights don't go in a direct straight line. They actually fly out to sea a little bit, and then they fly either southwest or northeast, and then they fly back inland to their destination. And so there are reasons for doing it that way because they're not overland the whole time, but there's no reason for them to fly that close to the median line. It doesn't, it doesn't save fuel. It's not safer. It actually creates more problems potentially.
Well, especially because of the war aspect.
Right. So the thing is that it's essentially there's no excuse for it. That's not clearly like there's a strategic or possibly military reason.
I mean, it's almost like the CCP is playing "I'm not touching you," like
Oh yeah, when you like circle your, or no, that's a different.
No,
that's I'm not hitting you.
Okay.
Wait, no, that's a different game.
Matt is very far away from his childhood.
That's actually sadly true.
It's the don't touch me. Oh, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching
you.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Shelley is still a child.
I'm still a child at heart. Yes.
Yes. Meanwhile, I was fighting my older brother with the windmill arms.
Yeah.
Was he also holding you back? Is
that by my forehead? Then I learned Taekwondo and I adjusted my style. And then I was asked to leave the dojo due to discipline problems. But that's a whole other story.
It was almost a Karate Kid movie until that part of it.
The Karate Kid was the bad guy.
They're making a new Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan.
Wow, those two worlds have fused.
Yeah, like the Jackie Chan Karate Kid that nobody really watched.
The one with like Jaden Smith?
Yeah, Will Smith's kid.
Yeah, it's Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan and like, I guess, a new young kid who's going to be the...
That's great. They can finally decide who has the best karate, Macchio or Jackie Chan. Stupid. Everything's... Hey, speaking of stupid, China is lacing waters with cyanide near the Philippines. Yeah. See, I got us back on the rails.
I mean, as you do, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's a type of fishing that used to be used like maybe, half a century ago, which is like cyanide fishing, where basically you dump a bunch of cyanide into the water where the fish are, because it stuns or kills the fish, and then you can just collect them.
Of course, there would be no problems with poisoning the ocean, right?
Yeah, like people in the 60s just had a different idea of environmental concerns. In other words, they did not have them. And so like this is a horrible, destructive way to fish, especially when they're doing it at the Scarborough Shoal, because you're damaging not only the marine life, you're also damaging the coral reef. I mean, that stuff's alive. Like the fact that all these Filipino fishermen, go out there to do their fishing because it's like one of the best spots near the Philippines. And basically now it's not just like when we were there in 2016, we saw like a whole bunch of Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia boats kind of guarding the area, right?
I'm glad that when we went into the waters
Mhm.
and planted the China Uncensored flag on the Scarborough Shoal, which means I own it, I'm glad there's no cyanide in the water.
So
As
what
far
do
as
you
we
have to
knew.
say about China putting cyanide in your
In
territorial waters?
You're right. This is my what the? I do not approve of this one lick. No, sir. I'm gonna start putting cyanide. No, I don't like where this is going. I'll write a
this is
stern rebuke to the UN.
So it's kind of like they're just now poisoning everything. Like it's literally like a physical manifestation of the metaphor for the CCP poisons everything.
Yeah, it's like that childhood game. I'm poisoning your water. I'm poisoning your water.
It is kind of like, well, if I can't have the cookie, no one's gonna eat the cookie. It is kind of like because the Philippines has been pushing back on a lot of the CCP's salami slicing, territorial claims, things like that. Like when they cut the cable underwater that they tried to put up a net in the Scarborough Shoal, all that stuff. So now, like they're like, all right, we're just gonna poison water.
It's a salting the earth strategy, but since you can't salt the sea,
you can cyanide the sea.
you can cyanide.
The Philippine government, I want to say, has been brilliant over the last year or so. And their one of their key strategies is to literally just show the truth of what the CCP is doing instead of covering it up, like often happens, or like say the U.S. government covering up, spy balloons until that one that they couldn't cover up.
But
like
they tried to.
They tried.
Or every U.S. company covering up the fact that they've been hacked by China.
Right, because from that perspective, it's embarrassment. But from a national standpoint, it's not just embarrassment, but it also potentially harms relations to expose what the CCP is doing. I think that mentality is stupid, by the way. But the Philippines government is smart because they're now taking video. They're putting cameras on their Coast Guard ships. They're releasing this footage to the public. So all you have to do is look and see what's actually happening. And the fact that people now have greater access to the truth, like people are shocked, right? As they should be, and as they should have been for, a decade or two, but at least it's happening now. So I would say I applaud that. And I applaud them exposing the cyanide thing and the net cutting thing.
Yeah, it's a good strategy. I wonder if there's more like Taiwan can do along those lines.
Right. Yeah. The more you just show what the CCP is doing, like, because they don't have a defense for a lot of these things, like flying spy balloons over Taiwan, right? They need to. What should happen is people are taking videos of these things and releasing them to the media, but I haven't really seen this happening.
Yeah, Matt, I think that's a really good point.